It's a Conspiracy is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network. For other fun programming, please check out albertapodcastnetwork.com, where you can find shows like Speaking Municipally.
Let's all do this.
It's a conspiracy! Let's go!
There it is. Season 5, Episode 3, All. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we are going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything because I am still feeling overwhelmed I found a place in Edmonton that sells black pudding, which is really good. And they also sell haggis year round. So I had some black pudding for breakfast again today. And I'm just like, oh, it's just so good.
Yeah, so emotional.
It's incredible. But like, I know you guys both have had black pudding. Have you both had haggis before?
Yep.
Did we do this on the
Robbie
show?
Burns Day, man.
Oh, I don't think we've really talked about haggis on the show. And it is criminally misunderstood. So Charlie, have you tried haggis before?
I feel like I have, but I don't remember. You know, I feel like I was at a thing to do at some point, and somebody was like, "Yeah, this haggis," and I was like, "All right, we'll try it." And I was like, "Okay," but I could use a refresher.
I think we should probably come back to a haggis special. I mean, we were talking about a kitty litter special on our last one. Maybe it'll be time for a haggis special.
I'm not eating that. I'm just not eating.
Oh, okay. We don't have to eat it, but yeah. Now I know a butcher shop is an odd place to kind of openly weep, but also, have you two ever openly wept in a butcher shop before?
Just recently.
You know, usually I save it for my car. I wait till I get back in the car.
I'm telling you, Old Country Sausage, you walk in, they have like the pies, and it's like this nice guy. He's got this big beard. He's like, "Hey, welcome." And you're just, oh,
Give me a hug.
Give me a hug, man. And then give me some sausage. Come on.
Give me a hug and some sausage. Not necessarily in that order.
Now, as always, if you'd like to see where we got the info on whatever tasty bits just boiled in a real sheep's stomach that we discussed today, then please do take a look at the notes in the episode description. Charlie's rich and exotic heritage, they just add the right amount of spice, so it's not too spicy, it's not too mild, it's just right, just tasty.
So very spicy.
And also, we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Yay team, yay friends. Yay Squad. They are fantastic. You can check us out at itsconspiracypodcast.com. Our Twitter at Is It a Conspiracy? That's run by the social media influencer, the Irish Madman. Our Facebook group, our Instagram page, that's run by Gorgeous Greg. That's It's a Conspiracy Podcast. And our email, and of course, our Patreon page, patreon.com/
It's a conspiracy.
Oh, yeah. Now, ready then, joining the online distance communication time today is the Charlie at Command Central, our good friend there, and the gorgeous return of Gorgeous Greg. It's good to see you back, buddy. These hunks of highway cop are going to interject as they see fit, and I do so appreciate their online digitally distanced company. Booyah.
Booyah.
Now, I'm not exactly sure how to say this, Charlie, so let's try with an ong or a layomare.
What?
So either ong is yes, or layomare. I'm probably saying that entirely wrong.
We'll see how that works. So I don't offend anybody. I might have a...
Layomare is no. Can you tell me if you're familiar with these three topics?
Go.
Okay, so ong, layomare. Who are the Freemasons?
Ongish.
Okay. A moment of Greg with Greg. Okay, and 10 fun facts about Tibet. Okay, so a couple of Wilhelms in there. Yeah, that's probably better than trying to say something and accidentally using the wrong word.
It's early for me. Come on, let's just take it a bit easy, huh?
Okay, I can do that. Now, subject number 1. This is, who are the Freemasons?
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do. We do.
The Freemasons, it's kind of like the Stonecutters. I'm sure you guys remember that episode there. And they have they don't have the long, dark red robes. Well, maybe they do, but they're not open about it. They don't normally tie stones to themselves after they've been shamed or attach the stone of victory. Like, they're usually, whatever's going on in there, we're not really privy to. They're an ancient and mysterious group. Who are they? What are they? Where are they? When are they? That's right. Which are they? So lots of questions there. Freemasons are a worldwide organization with a long list of impressive members. Politicians, engineers, scientists, writers, philosophers, composers, etc. They're the cream of the crop, the 1%, the kind of people you see on the CW. And according to the BBC, last year, the recent population of Freemasons worldwide is around 6 million. It's mostly men. Women can be Freemasons too. It's 2022, but that is a bit of a new thing. And they're all bound by secret oaths and cryptic ceremony. The main belief of the Freemasons, or Masons as they're often called, is in the supreme being called the Grand Architect. Now, this being is akin to the ultimate watchmaker, someone who knows all the gears but cannot interfere. Someone who's like, I'm going to watch you do this and you'll know I'm here, but I'm not going to do a damn thing. Kind of reminds me of when like your uncle would look after you when you're a kid. Like, I'm going to watch, but I'm not.
I'm going to drink my beer instead.
Oh, you're on the couch with some sodas. Now, this supreme figure has brought a lot of claims that there is a kind of a pagan element or the occult happening, which has resulted in one of the fiercest ongoing critics of the Freemasons being the Catholic Church. So in 1783, there was a papal decree. That's a nice little rhyme. That begs to be a song right there.
Can you run that back, but maybe sing it a little bit?
In 1783, there was a papal decree. This papal decree prohibited Catholics from becoming Freemasons, and that ban is still in place. Banned. You cannot be both. But there are obviously exceptions to that. Anyways, apparently the whole thing started with the Freemasons being an offshoot of the builders of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. Or they were maybe the Knights Templar. And a number of people have said that first there was the Freemasons, and then that group kind of evolved into the Illuminati. Now, most people have assumed that it's actually an ancient guild of people who worked with stone. So that's what masonry is. When you work with stone, you cut up stones and you get to be a mason.
Oh, so stone cutters are people who cut stones.
Yep.
Cool.
I told you to take it easy on me. Come on.
So they work with stones. Yeah. Now these architects making stone, like cutting up stones, they maybe wanted their own fancy club after putting up such notable locations such as the Notre Dame in Paris and Westminster Abbey in foggy London town in Old Blighty. These gigs, they would be like, hey, we just built an abbey for the Queen. So, we deserve a special club. They would have been directly in touch with the most powerful figures of the day. And it's really hard not to imagine that preferential treatment was happening as a result. These buildings were huge. They would take forever. And everyone was very, very impressed. And they'd be like, oh, you must be very royal because look at the size of this building. In any event, the Freemasons began recruiting people in the 16th and 17th centuries. This was often made up of wealthy upper class and learned gentlemen who would get together to discuss philosophy over beer, celebrate with some ribs. That sounds okay.
Yum.
What was the kind of ribs that the win was dubious and flawed, but what was the ribs that you had in our rib off?
The Swanson family dinner ribs?
The Swanson family dinner ribs, yeah.
I stand by my grading of those ribs. They were fantastic.
When you give yourself fives across the board, it just...
I was confident. That is just, you know what? That's just confidence, my friend.
Yeah. Might be time for rib off too as well. So kitty litter special, haggis special, and another rib off. We'll see. During these discussions, the topic of speculative Freemasonry began to arise, and the charter became less about cutting up rocks and building buildings and more about the expanding of the human experience and what we can do for our fellow man to evolve. This resulted in a number of new beliefs, including the Eye of Providence, which is featured on the US dollar bill. Mm-hmm. So you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen an American dollar bill before.
Was that all-seeing eye?
Yeah, and it's right there on the dollar bills, y'all. I'm just gonna. Can I share? Can I?
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Oh, geez, was it the Grand Architect?
That was him. He sounds just like Charlie. So there it is there.
Coincidence.
Yeah, the all-seeing eye. It's a pyramid with an eye on the dollar bill.
I see it.
So, yeah, it's wild. If you're in the States, you probably see this all the time. You don't think it's any big deal, but it is a kind of a fascinating image. Now, like I mentioned before, it is mostly men that make up the Freemasons, but there are women nowadays, and they've started accepting people of all nationalities. Sadly, for a long time, there was essentially a white male-only policy, which is why our list of famous Freemasons is basically almost exclusively white males. So it was big in England, big in Scotland, and kind of big all over the planet as a result of that, big in Germany. And then it is now kind of got a firm hold in the States. Some of the most famous Freemasons from history are Ludwig van Beethoven, Simon Bolivar, known as the Liberator of South America. Now, that claim is only going to last so long because Charlie's off to Cuba pretty soon, so he'll be the new
Liberator.
Vibrator of Cuba. Bzz, I'm buzzing with anticipation.
The French philosopher Voltaire and the famous German poet and writer Goethe, I think is how you say it, which is, yeah, Mr. Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He wrote his Magic Flute opera that contains a bunch of references to the Freemasons and a number of the American founding fathers, including George Washington, Paul Revere, Benjamin Franklin, Andrew Jackson. And Franklin was actually one of the first Freemasons in what was then known as like colonial America or whatever they called it at the time. And he was the Grand Master of the Philadelphia Lodge. Also, there are a number of actors, more so from the past. This is kind of an older thing. People like John Wayne, Roy Rogers. But nowadays, we have people like Tom Hanks, Mark Hamill, and Oscar Wilde, who's going right back to the olden days again. So that's probably a weird spot to end that list. But Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker is a Freemason. That's kind of fun.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So why all the secrecy? They've been good at keeping secrets. And that was kind of the tone from the beginning when they were in Europe and then when they crossed overseas to the New World. And this sense of secrecy has set the tone for organizations like the Ku Klux Klan, the Sicilian Mafia, the Hells Angels, and so many more. So their whole thing is about secrecy, and a number of people have claimed that this is due to their frightening initiation rite. Okay, now on introduction, so if you guys decide to go down and become Freemasons, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to learn the secret handshake.
Oh,
okay. I know, right? So already I'm like, I love secret handshakes. That's so much fun. Yeah. And this is called the grip. Oh yeah. Do you know the grip, brother? Do you know the grip? And you have to swear an oath to keep the secrets. This oath is made up of claims such as, under no less a penalty than that of having my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by the root, and my body buried in the sand of the sea at low water mark. So that's what's going to happen to you if your secrets are revealed. So maybe the big mystery is that they are all about just wanting to be nice people, but they can't tell you about the secret handshake because nobody wants to get their tongue pulled out by the root. Ugh, just keep that where it is, right? Like, just leave it alone.
Keep it rooted.
Now, interestingly, a number of scholars over the years have tied the crimes of Jack the Ripper to Freemasons as the description of what would happen to you if you were a bit of a chatty Cathy. You get your throat cut and your tongue taken out.
Loose lips and all that.
Yeah, sinking ships.
Mm-hmm.
And people have said, well, that's actually what happened to those murdered women. So perhaps it was some kind of Freemason ceremony.
Hullabaloo.
Ceremony. Anywho, they are still around today. They're across Europe, and there's a lot here in Canada. There's a bunch in the States. And the dangling strings by the hand are still controlling everything with the help of the Grand Architect. And that's the Freemasons.
Nice.
Kapow!
Hot damn.
Do we
In
have, like,
1783.
I was gonna say, do we have like an application form that we can just like?
Yeah.
I wonder if you could. There's probably one in. There's probably like a Mason Lodge in.
I've been in the Freemasons Hall in town. Yeah.
Yeah.
They hold shows there on occasion. It's a nice place.
Mhm.
Just pop on down with your resume.
Did you learn the grip?
Yeah, when he was like 13.
It makes me think that we should come up with our own special handshake.
Yeah, that we can do over Zoom.
Over Zoom, absolutely.
Just touch me.
And that's going to take us to what are we? What?
What are we drinking? What are we drinking?
So I can go first, or you guys can go. It doesn't really matter to me.
Go right ahead, Andy.
Okay, Joker.
Start us off.
All right. So the beer that I'm going to talk about today, I had over the summer. It was Interstellar from the good people at Stronghold Brewing in Fort McLeod, which is in southern Alberta. And the description on the website is a quintessential stout. Interstellar is rich and malty with notes of coffee and chocolate. Available in cans. Now, this is really good. The reason they call it Interstellar is because the street outside of the brewery, so the brewery's on like Main Street, Fort McLeod. It's being used. It was used in Ghostbusters. It was used in a bunch of movies. And during the filming of Interstellar, the part. Have you guys seen Interstellar?
No.
Okay, it's a space movie, and in the beginning, everybody's really sad, and the planet's really dusty, and everybody's eating corn. So it's like sad corn is really what that movie should have been
So
called.
you're
Because
just
it's
describing Alberta and Saskatchewan.
interesting look into Alberta and Saskatchewan for sure. So like
Intersad corn.
yeah, dusty sadness with a lot of corn. And there's a part where Matthew McConaughey's like driving down this kind of dusty road, and he's like, "Oh, all right. I'm sick of corn. I'm so sad." And they filmed this there, which is great. This is also the same street that Fargo was done in. So like Bud's Butcher Shop and the insurance office where like Billy Bob Thornton was capping people.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And so that's why they named it Interstellar.
Nice.
And it's real good. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Yum.
Good.
And what are we drinking?
Go ahead, Charles.
I can go next, yeah. And I know how much Andy loves a good sweet can, so I'll share as well.
Oh, I like a can.
I was at the EMB Edmonton Mountain Bike Festival just on Friday, and I enjoyed a delightful from Town Square Brewing Chiquita Mexican Cerveza, which reads,
Nice.
Our light and crushable Mexican-style lager is built on a Pilsner malt base with flaked corn, a touch of biscuit malt, and a Town Square twist. We lightly dry hop with Moteca hops for a hint of lime character and a clean finish. An excellent patio crusher. And I'll direct your attention to the can.
That's a good can.
That's a great can.
Nice and colorful. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
And
Nice.
it was a good to drink.
It was a good drink. Love that
into it.
can. Yeah, man.
Well, I'm kind of going back to like a brewery that we had like in the previous season, which you guys made fun of me for drinking, which was the Green Demon Blue Raspberry Sour by New Level Brewing. So I actually just at a local liquor store, as they always are,
Down on the corner.
street. I am drinking the Orange Demon Creamsicle Sour. Following the success of Green Demon, we wanted to make another beer that tries to capture a favorite flavor from our childhood, the orange creamsicle. Unapologetically artificial, it's a beverage that blurs the line between cocktail, beer, and Slurpee. If you can cream it, we can brew it. They actually say if you can dream it, we can brew it. So I just kind of mixed it up for them, make them sound a little bit cooler. Fun fact, when they were trying to package this beer, they really just wanted to put a creamsicle in the can, but that didn't really work out.
Actually, I'm familiar with that one. My drummer loves it for some, not for some reason because it tastes like a creamsicle, but he's this guy who's usually drinking like, good cheap beer. But we show up for jam one day and he's like, "You guys are gonna love these. Try these." I was like, I was not expecting this from him.
It's so different. This is my first time having it, and I'll hold it up for you. It's orange.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like Orange Crush.
It
but
does.
Not as hazy. It is quite delicious. It does taste like a creamsicle for an adult.
Nice. Creamsicles are okay. I guess what we were making fun of you was you're like, "I don't go for any. You're fancy. Just give me a, and then I'll have an orange creamsicle."
Give me a creamsicle.
I'll say that it's okay to be a
Raspberry
hypocrite every once
sour.
in a while.
Yeah.
It's fun being a hypocrite every once in a while.
That's right. Keep
You
them
gotta treat
guessing.
yourself, man. Well, good times. This is why we need to be together, so we could be like just passing around the cup. Everybody's having a sip.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that, but
Drinking from the same pail like we used to do.
just like one beer with 3 straws. The 3 of us just kind of,
A giant punch bowl. I remember those days.
Yeah.
well, that's going to take us to ad number 1.
This episode of It's a Conspiracy is brought to you by the Edmonton Community Foundation. The foundation acts as a bridge between donors and charities to create a strong, vibrant community for generations to come. You can start an endowment fund yourself or with a group. Once it reaches $10,000, it can start distributing funds. This year's focus is on making ends meet in Edmonton. Learn more at ecfoundation.org.
And we are at subject number 2. This is the Moments of Greg with Greg.
Moments of Greg.
Hooray!
Hooray. First of all, it's nice to be back. I missed you guys. I hope you had a great summer.
Yeah, we missed you too, man.
It's great to be here. Miss your beautiful faces. Can't wait to see them in real life. It's been like, what, 5 years?
It's been a long time. It's been
ages.
Been way too long.
Okay. Well, today I'm going to talk about planned obsolescence or obsolescence. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm
Obsolescence?
a teacher.
Mm.
Basically, in economics and industrial design, planned obsolescence, also called built-in obsolescence or premature obsolescence, is a policy of planning or designing a product with an artificially limited useful lifespan or purposely frail design so that it becomes obsolete after a certain predetermined period of time upon which it decrementally functions or suddenly ceases to function, or might be perceived as unfashionable. The rationale behind this strategy is to generate long-term sales volume by reducing the time between repeat purchases. It is deliberate shortening of the lifespan of a product to force people to purchase functional replacements. Planned obsolescence tends to work best with a producer has at least I'm going to totally butcher this word, but I will explain what it means. An oligopoly, a market structure in which a market or industry is dominated by a small number of large sellers or producers. Before introducing a planned obsolescence, the producer has to know that the customer is at least somewhat likely to buy a replacement for them. In these cases of planned obsolescence, there is an information asymmetry between the producer, who knows how long the product was designed to last, and the customer, who does not. When a market becomes more competitive, product lifespans tend to increase. For example, when Japanese vehicles with longer lifespans entered the American market in the 1960s and 70s, American car makers were forced to respond by building more durable products, which then brings us to the Phoebus cartel. The Phoebus cartel was an oligopoly that controlled the manufacture and sale of incandescent light bulbs. They appropriated market territories and lowered the useful life of such light bulbs. Corporations based in Europe and the United States founded the cartel on January 15th, 1925 in Geneva, Switzerland, where Phoebus based itself. The corporation named itself Phoebus S.A. Compagnie Industrielle pour le Développement de l'Éclairage, French for Phoebus Inc., Industrial Company of the Development of Lighting. The cartel included manufacturers as Osram, which is a German light bulb manufacturer, General Electric, Associated Electrical Industries, and Philips, among others, each holding shares in a Swiss corporation proportional to their lamp sales. So the more lamps you had, the more shares that you had in the company. The cartel lowered operational costs and worked to standardize the life expectancy of light bulbs to 1,000 hours, which is 1,500 hours down from 2,500, and raise prices without fear of competition in what has been described as a classic example of planned obsolescence. The cartel tested their bulbs and fined manufacturers for bulbs that lasted more than 1,000 hours. The idea of planned obsolescence has been around for at least 100 years, if not more, going back to fashion, technology, pretty much anything you can think of. If it didn't fit with society, it was gone, refurbished, repackaged. Here you are. You're still paying us full price. Much like many technologically based companies that exist today, Apple, that have knowingly implemented such a practice, We seem to continuously live at the mercy of major companies that pull the strings behind the curtain and the wool over our eyes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Obsolescence?
Obsolescence? I don't know, man. I'm not an English teacher.
Obsolescence?
I can barely read English, let alone pronounce it.
Obsolescence.
I thought your Englishly was fantastic.
Oligopoly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oligopoly, I think is how you say it.
Oligopoly?
What a fun word to say that is, too.
Oligopoly.
Oligopoly.
From Parker Brothers.
Geopoly.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I have to ask, though, when you mentioned Apple and you started choking, was that
I felt a very shock from my pocket where I keep my Apple iPhone. It was very much like, don't talk about that. And I feel like my phone is just going to get shittier throughout the week now that I've talked about it. So if you guys never hear back from me, you know who it was.
Oh, man. Hopefully you don't end up in a car with an ice pick in your neck or something like that from
your tongue torn out from the root.
Well, speaking of things that we're not supposed to talk about, here is subject number 3. Here's 10 fun facts about Tibet. So Tibet, it's claimed to be one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's tucked away in the Himalayas, and it is surrounded in controversy due to issues with China. And maybe it's the place where Batman learned his ninja powers. We're not sure. So, there's some interesting stuff here. Number 1, Tibet is the second largest province of China. Ooh, that's a thing to say because it is. The people there are like, we're an independent state. This is an illegal occupation, and China's military invasion and their continuing occupation has transferred, China claims Tibet, but the people in Tibet are like, you have no sovereign claim to us. This is a long-standing public disagreement, and it goes back to 1951. So in 1951, China was like, Tibet, you're all ours now, and they're like, we're not gonna do this here. So second largest province of China, I guess, depending on
who you're talking to,
right? Yeah. Number 2, the home of Mount Everest. So not only is Everest my favorite member of the Paw Patrol, but that is the tallest mountain in the world. It's so high that you have to acclimatize when you arrive. So if you want to climb Mount Everest, you have to stay at the base camp for a week before you even start.
Because does that mean you have to practice climbing, acclimatize?
Climatize means you have to sit there and become one with the
mountain.
With the mountain. I'm becoming one. Number 3, Tibet was closed to the public until 1985. You couldn't go. So how did Batman get in? Did he get in? Is he a ninja? Even now, if you want to go to Tibet, you have to get a special permit to visit, and the process is scrutinizing, including things like people issuing these permits will go through your social media and see if you have taken the side one way or the other, or made comments of a political nature about one country or another. It's fascinating. It's really, so they're really picky about who gets to visit Tibet.
So basically after this episode comes out, this will be on our permanent record.
If we have a permanent record in China, which we haven't really talked about the People's Republic of China too much.
But especially
but this might get us really good.
If you guys just keep saying it,
I was going to say, the more you say it, the more they're going to
say right now. I've never met these gentlemen in my entire life. I don't even know how I got here this morning.
Number 4, there are over 7,000 Buddhist monasteries in Tibet. So 90% of the population is Buddhist, and a lot of people from around the world will come and visit Tibet so they can hang out with people like the Dalai Lama, including actors like Richard Gere or Gere. Is it Gere? I think it's Gere. Yeah. It's Gere. And the remaining population is mostly, I was kind of surprised by this, mostly either Muslim or Christian. So the remaining 10% of the population there. Number 5, the Buddha statue at Tashi Lampo, I hope I'm saying that right, is the largest bronze statue in the world.
Picture didn't happen.
Kaboom. So here she is here. This is the future Buddha. Do you guys see this here?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty slick.
No, I'm not exactly sure what future Buddha means. I don't really understand the Buddhist faith, but they refer to that as the largest statue of the largest bronze statue in the world of the future Buddha.
Wow.
Number 6.
Nope.
Tibet's main rivers run directly into India, China, Bangladesh, Burma, Nepal, Bhutan, and a number of other Asian countries. This means that Tibet's rivers are the source of fresh water for about 46% of the world's population, which is incredible because that's how many people live in those countries. So their rivers are almost half of the fresh water for the entire population. Yeah, it's crazy. Number 7, the sacred mountain, I hope I say this right, Kailash, is in Tibet and is not a climbing kind of mountain. So you don't go climb it. The Four Faces are important pilgrimage sites for people of a variety of different religions. And you gotta make a pilgrimage there. You walk around it. You take a look at the mountain, but you don't climb it. So don't climb that mountain. Go climb Mount Everest instead. Yeah, go climb something else. Go climb on this.
Trash somewhere else.
Number 8. The ethnic people, the indigenous people of Tibet, have had their bodies slowly adjust to the harsh climate that they live in. So they have specific, unique genes that allow their bodies to utilize oxygen a little more efficiently. And they have, on average, larger lungs. So they've got these great big lungs inside their bodies. Mm-hmm. Number 9. I have tried this once, and I'm going to hold on my opinion until opinion time. So number 9, Tibetans drink butter tea. So it's yak butter mixed with black tea. It's typically served with boiled potatoes or roasted barley flour. Sounds good on a cold day. I mean, if it's real cold outside, but on a hot day, I don't know about a
butter tea on a hot day.
A butter tea on a hot day, yeah.
Wait, is this a dish or is this a tea?
It's a tea. It's a nice cup of tea
that you put potatoes in?
With potatoes and barley flour?
And you drink your tea while you're eating some potatoes and
gotcha.
And a little barley flour snack.
I'll have the tea and potatoes, please.
I was going to say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Also, what does the yak butter taste like?
It's yakalicious. Number 10. Speaking of yaks are the main domestic animal in Tibet. Don't you guys want a yak? How great would it be if you had a yak at your house? You got a yak as a pet?
I'd have a couple of yaks.
Oh, man. Just yakking about.
Yak.
Unfortunately, my new apartment is yak free. So it was in the lease agreement.
There was a papal decree. No yaks.
There shall be no yaks.
Yeah.
You shall not yak.
And I don't know what it is about the word yak, but I'm like, that just is so much fun.
Yak attack?
Yeah.
I just imagine a bunch of kung fu yaks just coming out of nowhere.
See, now I also feel a bit of a missed opportunity here. You could have asked me with a yak or a knack at the beginning of the. Oh, that would have been good.
Damn it.
It's too late now, man. We're too far.
It's too late now.
Too far past it.
We're in too deep.
Just keep those good ideas as mentions after the fact. So,
would you say after the yak?
Yeah.
Yes, it should have been yak or knack. Oh, well. And that is going to take us to ad number 2.
This episode of It's a Conspiracy is brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Life as a business owner can be hectic, to say the least. Alberta Blue Cross understands that. They offer flexible health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees. Even better, you can let your staff enroll and manage their coverage at any time and on any device. That makes life easier for them and for you. You've got this when it comes to group coverage for your small business, and Alberta Blue Cross has got your back. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca.
Opinion time. Hey everybody, it's opinion time.
Okie doke, we are in the opinions time. This is going to be a bit of a weird one because we'll just get into our opinions, I guess, on things. We'll have stuff here to talk about. So, Big Chunky, what was our first theory? Going back to the beginning. Something about stonecutters and
the
rigging
Freemasons.
Hollywood. The Freemasons, that's right. Okay, and Andrew, what was our second? It was planned obsolescence, I believe, is obsolescence.
Obsolescence.
And the Oglypy? Oligopoly? Oligopoly, which sounds like a nasty skin disease. I've got oligopoly. And then, Greg, what was our third theory?
10 fun facts about yaks and whether they attack or not.
10 fun yaks about facts.
10 fun facts about Thailand. Or no, sorry, not Thailand. Tibet.
Tibet.
Whoa,
Tibet.
jeez. I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I got yak on the brain too, man.
Another case of yak brain. Well, I guess we might as well start from the back here. So, Charlie or Greg, do you guys have any thoughts on Tibet and the fun facts, or butter tea for that matter?
Sounds beautiful. I would like to try it.
The yak tea.
The yak tea.
I wish you'd have mentioned this before we started, getting ourselves into deep waters and maybe never ever be able to travel there. But it seems like a place I would like to go.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a mystery. The whole thing it's hard to stay out of opinions on it, but the whole thing of kind of being like annexed, or just like a country's like, oh, you're part of us now, and they're like, no, we're not. Okay,
so I think the story is like they were doing their own thing, minding their own business, and then China showed up and was like, actually, no, you're part of us now, and they were like, no, but they were like, yeah, and that's the whole thing.
But I thought, I could be wrong here, that was like a major kind of like military thing for them, because like doesn't China share the border with or is that another country that they share the border with?
Well, Tibet's borders run, like I was saying, with their rivers, they run into all of these other countries, so it is like an extremely strategic
just like
place.
Nestle.
Yeah, it's like Tibet, India, Bhutan, Burma, like, so it would be an extremely strategic place to control, which is probably why China's wanting to have it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, hi there. Sorry, quick editor's note. Burma is actually officially known as the Republic of Myanmar, and the names are a little bit of a contested issue, so just sorry about that.
Yeah.
And all that clean water. Like, I'm surprised Nestle hasn't invaded.
We are bafflingly uninformed on this.
Here,
yeah.
Big swings.
But it would be cool to visit. When I was in Nagoya, there was a Mongolian restaurant that would serve from time to time Tibetan tea. And so the one time this guy brought it out, and it was like this big, giant, like kind of like a insulated thermal mug, like one of these guys, big cup of tea. Like I'm used to like dainty little cups of tea. And it almost looked like ramen based, to be honest. Like there was like oils on the top, and it was really dark, and like there was a lot of smells that I wouldn't have associated with tea. It did feel more like soup or some kind of like in the UK they have I think it's called bovril. It's like this gravy drink, and it's real nasty. It's like people have it if they're feeling sick or whatever, but it's basically like beef tea. Yeah. Oh, so I mean, not the nicest thing to drink. Anyways,
definitely keto friendly. Get into it.
So this Tibetan tea, it was good, but I was like, oh, like that was not quite what I was expecting. And they told me later on, they're like, yeah, it was made with real yak butter, and I'm like, I couldn't really pick out what the yak part of it was, but it was an interesting experience, and I enjoyed it. But it definitely felt like more like just a big cup of soup.
Yak broth.
Yeah, yak broth. It's chock full of yaky goodness. So I would assume that we actually probably all have a lot to say about planned obsolescence. But do you guys have any thoughts on the Freemasons before we get in there?
I don't know enough about them.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
that I can talk about.
There was like a TV show that I watched called Carnival, and like the main storyline that like one of the main characters' father was part of the Freemasonry, and they were part of the bad guys.
They're associated with like secret organizations and all kinds of stuff, like the Jack the Ripper thing, and all that. It's hard to say because if their whole thing is founded on the mysterious, like, oh, you can't tell anybody what we're doing here, then people immediately start sort of assuming things about you.
Bad, right? You got to be doing some bad stuff. Otherwise, why wouldn't you tell us?
Well, yeah. It's in the Da Vinci Code as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. The Freemasons are in the Da Vinci Code. Are they a secret organization, or are they actually just like people hanging out,
Sure.
drinking some beers and eating some ribs? I believe the Shriners are associated with before I say that, because I think the Shriners,
it's a conspiracy, the show full of research.
The Shriners, like the guys with the invisible dogs that drive around those little cars and like help kids out in hospitals, for example. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? Mm-hmm. So you have to be a Freemason to be a Shriner. So they're tied together. Oh. So maybe I'm just some of my goodwills, like I just know some people who have been affected in a positive way by those guys. Like they do a lot for like kids with burns and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, and those little invisible dogs, how great are those? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't.
With the leashes.
no clue.
You
I know
haven't
they've
seen the
got
invisible
tiny cars
dogs.
and stuff, but
And they got the tiny cars.
and fezzes.
And they have fezzes. That's right. All right, then. So planned obsolescence. What do you guys think here?
I mean, it's a big
Go ahead,
takes a big chunk out of my bank account whenever I got to upgrade all my bits.
Mm-hmm.
Which is all the time, quarterly.
And it is these things are developed to do that. Like our phones and whatever are like, oh, it's, the new model's coming out, so your old one kind of stops working properly.
Yeah, like I didn't present this so much as like a conspiracy, as like this is something that actually happens every day. I think one of the major things that I said is it becomes unfashionable. And I think in our society now, it doesn't matter if it works to the best of its ability. It's like, do I have the newest one? Is it cooler than my best friend's?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah, no, obviously it's happened.
Well, I mean, obviously companies want to make money, and they're not going to make money if you buy one car and then you never have to buy another car.
No, yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I forgot to bring up was also like the centennial light bulb. And it's a light bulb that's been around for over 100 years. I believed it was moved from the original building where they figured out a way to keep the electricity flowing through it. So it never really stopped actually being on. And it's been on for over 100 years.
Infinity bulbs.
Yeah.
What? That's a real thing? There's
That's
a light bulb?
real thing. Yeah. It's called the centennial bulb.
See, now just imagine how much farther we'd be as a society if we
didn't have to worry about light bulbs.
Yeah, even just the light bulbs, but like how much less energy we'd be consuming as a society if we didn't have to have a new car every 10 minutes or a new phone every 25 seconds,
Yeah, it is frustrating. And I guess that's one of those things where people like, if you do get something that's going to last for a little while, you have to pay, crazy high prices for it. Like my old Mac that we used to laugh about because the computer had so many problems, most of which were definitely user error. But it was like a 10-year-old computer. And I remember telling people that. I'm like, yeah, I've had it for about 10 years. And they're like, what? That's like...
It's so out of date. How
That's
does
like
it even turn
700.
on?
In computer years, that's very old.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think like really, 10 years is really not that long at all. But like new Xbox and PlayStation, all that stuff, they are coming out with new models all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some of them, like I think it's Xbox where you can play like previous gen games.
Yeah, a lot of that
like
stuff is backwards compatible nowadays.
Yeah. And that is awesome. Because I know like back in the day, like I couldn't take a game and like put it in my Genesis and play that.
For sure.
But also at the same time you say like backwards compatible, a lot of time what they're doing now is just forcing you to buy more memory for whatever console you're using, so you can just download those games.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, they get you coming and going.
It's not a theory, it's something that actually happens every day. It's just I don't think anybody really thinks about it. And I thought that the light bulb thing was pretty cool because it happened like early in the 1900s before we had all this technology that is constantly being either thrown away or like just becoming obsolete because like it doesn't fit in my pocket anymore.
Yeah, and it does kind of fit with the narrative of like why things like solar power haven't really taken off, because it's renewable and it's hard to monetize, right?
Yeah. And it's ugly. Nobody wants to put that stuff on their
Sure, I like a mirror
solar
roof.
power. Blah.
God, if it only was more aesthetic, I would totally save the world.
I mean, it's funny. It's definitely something that I've thought people think about with phones, but when it comes to like light bulbs, you don't think about it as much. You think, if you just ask someone who hasn't heard this podcast episode yet, they'd probably say, well, I mean, that's probably the best technology we can get out of a light bulb. But it's like, hold on, Jack, we've got a light bulb that's still going strong after 100 years,
You might not be able to read anything with it, but it's still going.
It's still going.
But that
the
just
filament
means
is still burning.
If that technology existed that long ago, then if we would have, instead of just making more stupid light bulbs, just put our time and effort into making that 100-year bulb better, it would be a 1,000-year bulb by now.
The centennial bulb.
Like the way you think there, Charles.
The legacy bulb.
What a millennium bulb.
The millennium bulb. Thank you. I was trying to, what's the word for, absolutely.
The Numanium bulb?
Righty then, Mountain Goats. Thank you so much for swinging by. We'll be back with episode 4 later in October. In the meantime, please feel free to check out our past casts and social medias at itsconspiracypodcast.com. You can subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review, order some merch. Go to screamfamily.com.
Screamfamily.com. Get merched.
You can get in touch, say hello, suggest a theory, submit a version of the Opinion Time jingles. That is always super fun. And you guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and take care.
Bye.
See you never.
Remove the stone of shame. Attach the stone of triumph. Oh!
Yeah.